public transportation, close your eyes and you think about it. What typically comes to someone's mind is the same thing that would come to someone's mind in the 1950s, the 1960s. We're not there anymore.
Years, double-digit decreases in ridership. That's a big red flag.
You have a chance to change people's lives. You affect people's lives every day, and a lot of them.
If agencies don't change and recognize that you have to get in the mix and provide choice, then we're just going to go away with a dinosaur.
Every transit agency I'm aware of, we look at our mission as broad. We're here to provide transportation to everyone in every community.
We were put in place as public transportation is to help solve that economic burden.
I look at transit as an absolutely essential component of a successful economic development and job strategy.
Transportation disadvantage that we often talk about that needs to be included in this conversation, and they need to have just as much access as everyone else.
And it's your job as a transit agency, as a transit authority, to bring all those pieces of the puzzle together.
Letting people live the lives that they want to live to their fullest potential, getting to work, getting to friends' houses, participating in society and then the community that they live in. That's what we do. The world is changing. Where people are going, travel patterns in the region, the technology options, how people get information about trip making and making their choices on how and where and when to travel has evolved tremendously.
Slowly but surely we're coming around to realize that not everybody needs a fixed route bus necessarily to get them from point A to point B, so what are the other modes that are out there?
Microtransit becomes one of those alternatives for us now. You really have to start thinking as an agency, what other services can we offer for the changing demographics of the city?
They're going to have to be much more customer-centric, community-focused about what serves the community and serves their economic development needs.
I believe TNCs provide a very valuable service in our community.
Because your Ubers and your Lyfts fill gaps that we have, and then we fill gaps that they have.
We have people that are interested in investing in transit, but they also want to make sure that we're doing that in a really responsible, efficient way.
I think if we all worked together cooperatively to make it work, it's a wonderful thing.
The gauntlet has been thrown by technology, consumer expectation, and so we've got to up our game.
Destabilization is a part of growth. And so we are always looking to do things better and not get comfortable about the way things used to happen.
New technology is definitely something that transit agencies are not used to implementing because they want to see how it works somewhere else first.
If they're just focused on redesigning their fixed route plan, then they're never going to see the bigger picture, which is how do we provide better services?
Of course it's going to change. Life changes, everything changes, and we have to, as leaders, embrace change.
You've got to develop an agency that's nimble enough to move.
Having some forward thinkers to look at what possible alternatives we have has helped to reshape and innovate.
There's going to be some degree of experimentation when we actually begin microtransit pilots, and we're embracing that.
I would define microtransit as a new tool that's available to the industry.
It's a tool that you need to be open to, and you need to be willing as a transit operator to consider it where it makes sense in your service area.
It's a service of choice, not a service of need.
And we think microtransit would be a more productive and attractive solution, and that opens up our system not just in downtown St. Louis, but on other ends of trips across our region to using transit.
In this city, it's been a perfect solution. We're planning more microtransit services around the region, and customers know about it. Our local stakeholders want the service in their districts.
These are communities that felt that transit wasn't serving them very well. They see this as a model that serves them very well, and they've responded to it. So even people who aren't necessarily inclined to take it are finding the service relevant and therefore by extension the transit district relevant and see a new purpose for transit.
It doesn't just seem to resonate with, transit geeks like me. It seems to make sense to everybody, whether they're a transit user or not.
This is cool stuff. Like, it's not as scary as people think. It's really easy to deploy the service.
We found that the implementation of the microtransit service was actually incredibly simple.
It made so much sense because it was easy to get into.
So I think when you talk about reinventing transit and what's going on, it's realizing that there's more than one way to get someone from point A to point B. We have the ability to do that. We have the institutional knowledge, but you just have to be able to take the risk.
And talk through it and try it. And if it doesn't work, it could turn into something that does.
Be able to step outside of the box and say, I can do this, and I want to be a part of what the future is going to be.
We have a lot to learn from TNCs and from microtransits, but we also have a lot to share.
So there's a role for all of us. Transportation is a very big world.
We want to create greater access for all.